and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, hi, my name is Caitlin and this is my channel, Something Bookish. For today's video, I'm going to be doing all the books I read in January kind of thing. In total, this month, I actually read 15 books. I have 14 of those books right here. One of them was a book I read for class, and I'm not going to talk about it because, yeah. I'm still sick! Surprise, surprise. I guess let's just start. I have a journal right here. You can't see it, I don't think, but it has, like, my thoughts, and I'm going to be referencing it to talk about these different books. So the first book I read of the year and of January is Wink Poppy Midnight by April Genevieve Tuchok, I think is how you pronounce it. This was really good. I rated it 3 stars, so it wasn't the best book, it wasn't a great start to the year, but it was still pretty good. The book is very poetic in its writing, and so at times it could get confusing, and that's why the rating was so low. It was very creepy and secretive, which I did enjoy a lot, and I loved how the mystery was told in general. It wasn't like super complex writing because it's set in modern day, and it's not a fantasy. It's a contemporary mystery. It didn't hold my interest as much as I wanted it to, but that's okay. I wasn't a really big fan of Wink's character compared to the others. I really enjoyed Midnight the most, and Poppy was okay, but Wink just kind of got on my nerves a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty much all the thoughts I have about this book. Okay, the next book I read is the start of a series, and I have the rest of the series. I just didn't feel like continuing it, and not because of any negative thoughts. I'll get into why. But that book was Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. I have always enjoyed mysteries, and this was absolutely no exception. Even though with mysteries, I like predicting what would happen, and this one I was able to do that. It still didn't take away from the enjoyment of the book. I still really enjoyed how it went through, or how the mystery was unveiled and what happened. I really enjoyed that. Another cool thing that this book includes, let's see if I can find it really fast. They have pictures at the start of every chapter, and I thought that was really awesome. I really enjoyed that. And I absolutely adored the main character and how she had a really strong friendship with her uncle, which is such a strange thing to see in books in general. So I wasn't a big fan of how she trusted the love interest so fast, but I do understand you have to move the plot along, so I'm okay with it. I did enjoy later down the line their romantic banter and their relationship in general. So I did enjoy it. I am excited to continue with the other 2 books, but I didn't do so immediately because these are mysteries and I can only read so many at a time. Otherwise, I get overflowed with mysteries and I get into a slump, and I don't want that to happen. The climax in this book was absolutely amazing. I absolutely adored it, and I was at the edge of my seat the whole time. So I rated this book 4 stars. The next book I read is something different. And so the next book I read was An Enchantment of Ravens. I was expecting this to be a lot worse than it actually was. I was expecting to not like this because everyone was saying it was so fast-paced and all of this stuff, but I really enjoyed it. This really did go at a good pace for me. I know some people disagree because it does have a very fast pace, but I do enjoy that. I didn't mind it at all, and I definitely loved the Rook, the character. I loved how he changed as the book went on and how he was still Rook. Like, there was no drastic change that makes him seem like some other character. Isabel, the main character, was another great character. She was very well made. I loved her determination in everything that she did. This story honestly felt like a breath of fresh air after I had finished the mysteries because it's a fantasy, and I adore fantasies so much. So I rated this one 4 stars. Now we get into some big books, and that is Dark Artifices. I read Lady Midnight, Lord of Shadows, and Queen of Air and Darkness. I'm not going to give my review on these 2 because these were rereads, and I don't want to give my review on rereads because I already read them, and so any thoughts and ideas I would have had about these are eclipsed by the nostalgia I feel of rereading them. So I'm gonna put them down. So Queen of Air and Darkness. Let's talk about this one. I felt like there was a bit too much going on in this one. It is a massive book. It's 880 pages, I think. And so a lot does happen. But I felt like way too much happened. There was no real, there was stuff going on for certain reasons. It felt like those could have been in another book or another series. I don't know. There were many scenes and elements that just kind of were very confusing. There was stuff that I thought would be important later on, but just wasn't. It was kind of dropped, and I was very concerned about that. All of that being said, I loved this book. I love all of Cassandra Clare's work. It's a thing. I adore her books. I have a whole shelf. It moves constantly right now. It's at the top of this bookcase. I felt like it was a great way to end this series in particular and get the readers excited for the next one, because I'm certainly excited for the next series. I really enjoyed learning about the Parvati curse. I think that's how you pronounce it, Parvati. I might be wrong. As well as I also really enjoyed seeing more of the fairy courts. I definitely adore that aspect of this series. I also kind of felt like when Julian had... Okay, spoiler. Massive spoiler. I'll hold my phone up, and when I put my phone down, you can unmute if you haven't yet read this. So, spoiler time. There's a point in the book when Julian, his emotions get taken away from him. I despise that. I hate that theme so much, or that trope, or whatever it is, so much. it's just so frustrating. So I kind of feel like that was forced conflict, but I feel that way about anyone who tries to do that, so it's not really Cassandra Clare's fault. I rated this one 4 stars, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. Alright, the next 2 books I read were ones that I am so glad I read. I kind of combined their reviews on my journal, so I'll just try and separate them while I'm talking. And those books are The Cruel Prince and The Wicked King. I loved these a lot, except I rated them 4.5 stars, I think. There's just little things in these books that just make me a little upset, but that's fine. So I really should have read these 2 books earlier, well, at least Cruel Prince earlier. I absolutely adored all of the grab for power kind of play and the betrayals that happened. I just loved them so much. I loved Jude's character so much. I feel like she's such a great character. At the beginning of the book, it was a bit slow for me to fall in love with her, but I did end up doing so. During this book, I really hated Cardan, or at least in the beginning, but now I understand him a bit more, and I wouldn't go as far as to say, like, I love his character, but I do care for him as a character. I love how realistic these characters are. Like, this would be how I imagine fairies to be in the real world, and like the humans in this book, I really enjoyed that too. To me, this book has a sort of nostalgic feel, even though I've never read it before, and I think it could be the fact that when I was younger, I'd read the Rainbow Fairy books, and they have a lot of garden magic and like all that stuff, and this felt very reminiscent of that. And it was definitely something different, but it was those fairies turned into something different, and I definitely really enjoyed this series. For Wicked King, it's pretty much the same thing about that. I love the ending to this one, even though it makes me upset. The emotions that are ripped through this book, I love them so much. I absolutely adore how Jude was so I loved her role in this book. I loved who she was, what she did. This book was great. I did feel like going to the undersea for a little bit was a bit strange, but it was fine. It blew over pretty okay, kind of. But I definitely liked this book, and I definitely can't wait for Queen of Nothing, which comes out next year. Alright, the next 2 books that I read are books that I like a lot. The next 2 books I read are also is a duology, and that was The Crown's Game and The Crown's Fate. I adore The Crown's Game with my whole heart. I love the characters, the magic, the world, everything. This is a 5-star read for me. I love it so much. And then I read The Crown's Fate. And we'll go into this. So, like I said, I adored the first book so much, and I adored how it had such a unique take on magic and 2 magicians battling. I loved that part. I really enjoyed how in the first book the romance grew and the characters developed, but then I got to this book, and it wasn't terrible. This is not a bad book. This is a 4-star book for me. It seemed to be missing a lot of the things I had loved from the first book. At this point I was beginning to realize that I despise the trope element where one of the main characters loses their ability to love or feel positive emotions. I just didn't like this one as much. I am comparing it to Crown's Game. On its own, it is a great book. It's definitely, like I said, this is definitely a 4-star read, which is a good book. But comparing it to Crown's Game, this did not meet my standards, and I was a bit disappointed. But it was still good. I still enjoyed parts of it, and I still enjoyed how it ended. So, the next book I read is To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. I realize I haven't been saying the authors because I keep forgetting the authors. fun. So this book is a different book compared to the rest I read. The rest I read, I had an idea that I'd enjoy, and I read them and I enjoyed them. This one, however, was quite different. So it started off very slow in the beginning, and I was very tempted to DNF this one. I felt like I was wasting time slowly moving my way through the book. I just didn't like it. But I told myself I have to read 100 pages. If I get to 100 and decide I hate the story, I hate the characters, I hate everything, then I just put it down and never touch it again. I got to 100 pages and the best things started happening. That was about the time when the two main characters met for the first time, and I adore their conversations. I adore them interacting with each other, and this flipped the switch on the story. I love their friendship and I fell for their romance, and the banter was quite possibly the best part of this book. I loved it so much. The climax, however, wasn't necessarily what I was expecting, but it was still good. It wasn't as epic as I was imagining in my head, but it was still it was still a great climax and a great story. I really did enjoy how the author ended the story and wrapped it all up nice and neat. One thing I did talk about a lot when I was like updating Goodreads at times, I was saying how I would just love to understand more about the side characters, because I really loved the side characters a lot too. They were just amazing and I want to know them better, so that's like that's another wish that I have for this book. I wish we got to know the side characters even more. If there was a companion novel about the side characters, I'd probably get it because I love them so much. And so I ended up leaving this book very happy, and I ended up rating it 3.5 stars. Now the next ones I'm coming up with on the fly, my reviews, because I did not write anything in my book because I did this a few days ago, back before I had finished this series. And that series is the Seminar Trilogy by Tara and Matharu, starting with the Novice, then going to the Inquisition, and then the Battlemage. Let's talk about the Novice for a little bit. I really enjoyed this one. Not as much as I enjoyed Battlemage, which we'll get to Battlemage. Battlemage is a 5-star read in my mind. This one's a 4-star read. The character, it was a great introductory novel, and it was a great starting point for the series. There was some stuff that I felt was missing. It felt like some stuff moved a little bit too fast. Like there was a tournament. It ended up being so much was happening so close to the end that I thought it wouldn't make it to the book, but then it did, and I was just like, this is too rushed. I would have preferred more time before the tournament, or at least some focus on the tournament before it actually happened. Instead, it was pretty much forgotten about until the tournament happened. So I would have wished more focus on the tournament if that was going to be the central point of the novel, but it wasn't. But I still enjoyed this a lot, and it was a good book. Like I said, I rated this one 4 stars, I think. The next book in the series is The Inquisition, and this one I definitely enjoyed a lot better. This one is a 4.5 for me. It was lacking a lot of things, such as chemistry between the romance brewing, and there was a lot of chemistry for other characters who clearly weren't going to end up with the main character. It was a bit confusing, to be honest. It just kind of upset me. I loved how this one started. And I definitely enjoyed them going on the adventure. It was a great adventure in this story. I really did enjoy that. All of the characters working together to do their little journey, which I would talk more about, but you might read this book, so let's not spoil anything. But I really enjoyed a lot of this book. I adore Battlemage with my whole soul. Battlemage is the best out of all of these 3 books. There was so much development, so much that I had been wanting in the previous books appeared in this one. There was chemistry finally. The character was now getting more powerful, which I had hoped for in the beginning, and so much more happened. I love this book so much. This is definitely a 5-star read. So those are all the books that I read in January. I am going to do a little shout out to another book, and that is King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. I have started this one in January. I'm just letting you know, but I'm going to include it on my February wrap-up when I ultimately finish that and the month of February is over. Thank you guys for watching. If you're looking for where you can find more complex versions of these reviews, I'm going to be linking my Goodreads down below. You can find them there. I also have a Twitter, which I'm still figuring out, so follow me there. If there's any books that you want me to read in February, let me know in the comments down below, because I would like to add more to my TBR. I might do a TBR for the 5th. I don't know. We'll see if I get there. Anyway, please like the video if you enjoyed if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you have yet to do so. Have a great day, night, or whatever, and I will see you guys on Tuesday. Bye!